All right, so we're live.
Hello, everybody.
So, what do you got? What are you holding there?
So I'm holding an old paint screen that used to fit in one of my dad's 5-gallon paint buckets, and we used to roll off of this screen, and we would fill it up and get all the paint on it, and it just made a great way to lift paint up off a roller without getting too much off the roller or putting too much on the roller.
Painting is an art. This is like a piece of art, which I love.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It hangs on your wall in your office, which is really cool. So my name's Jason Hummerkaus. This is my business partner, Jason Finney. Many of you know him. You've seen him around. We actually, fun stuff, this coming Saturday, we will celebrate our second anniversary of having merged Finney Painting and Heritage Custom Painting. And so this month, still this month, our newsletter just landed into the mailboxes, and thanks to McCormick's Printing for helping us with that. That landed into your mailbox if you're a customer of ours, client of ours, and watching. And Jason wanted to take a minute and just kind of talk a little bit about his journey in painting. It's actually been a lot of fun. What I know about Jason, he's a third-generation painter. And maybe just talk a little bit about kind of how you got into painting, how old you were, because I think it's a really big deal for young kids to learn, one, how to work.
Yeah.
And sometimes today they're learning that in a sports industry. Mm-hmm. You didn't.
No, I didn't. I don't sport for a lot of reasons.
Right.
No, I started painting when I was 12 years old. I started painting with my dad. On school holidays and weekends and summers, and that's when I started. So,
and you grew up. Some of our audience doesn't know. Yeah. Where did you grow up at?
I grew up in the Washington D.C. area, so Northern Virginia, Washington D.C., Maryland, that whole area, right around the Beltway. If you're familiar with that area, that's where I grew up.
So
that's where we painted.
One thing about Jason that some of you know, some of you don't. He's a complete geek when it comes to paint, which I love. And so when it comes to technical questions, he's your man, and he's the one who's infiltrating that all into our guys. But some of the stuff that your dad did in teaching you the industry is so cool. Tell us a little bit about the things that he taught you. Some of the things, practices that he did during that time.
Yeah, a lot of the practices I have today, I got from him. Attention to detail; those are some of the big ones. But how to hold a brush, how to roll, how to hold a brush in different circumstances, because it's not always one way.
Right.
And so I can still feel his hand on mine when I pick up a brush sometimes. When I'm going to go do something, he said, "Hold it just like this," and he put it in my hand and he held it.
That's awesome.
A lot of those practices he carried over. I wish I had got paint color tinting from him.
Right.
He had his own tint set. He mixed his colors right there. A lot of times right at the customer's house with the tint set. Every customer almost had their own color, and he would name the color after the customer. So I can still remember Mrs. Mossberg, Mrs. Bojali. I can still see their colors.
That's awesome.
As he mixed them there. And I couldn't tell you why he added a tint to it, and I didn't pay enough attention. I wish I
and in today's market, it's one thing for somebody to learn how to hold a brush, cut a straight line, do all that, roll, not leave lap marks, all that stuff. When you're talking about tinting in the field without computer generation and you're doing it on the eye, I mean, it just takes it to a whole nother level. For an art, it's not just artist. There's a feel, there's a skill level to it, which I love, and I've never done that. I get envious when I go into this paint store today and I see these guys. And when you go into a paint store, a lot of times there will be one or two people, maybe in that store, that are gifted in that, and they've learned how to say, okay, I need to add a little bit of red or I need to add a little bit of black, but your dad knew how to do that, which is really fun.
Right on the fly, mixing it right there sometimes with the customer watching to get the right
That's
color.
not nerve-wracking.
No, not at all. But, it just, it was fun to see, and it's fun to do something like that.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit. I think this April, you wrote the newsletter because this April commemorates his 20 years since he's passed. Tell us a little bit more about your dad, maybe about that timeline or whatever.
Yeah. So it was 20 years ago. I was active duty military at the time, and I was stationed back at Andrews, and I was also helping my dad paint. And so that very last house that we were painting actually was the first house I ever really painted with him, Mrs. Malsberg's house. We'd painted her house 3 or 4 times in that period of time, and we were back at it again. And my brother was with us, and Dad and I were painting, and he was undergoing some experimental cancer treatments, and that unfortunately caused him to lapse into a coma, and he wasn't able to.
My mom passed away in 2002 from breast cancer. Your dad passed in April of 2001. 2001. So interestingly enough, that's the case. We all know it's coming, but it's hard when that happens, especially for our parents or whatever. But so you grew up learning, you kind of grew into that, then went into military, and then now here you are, kind of a side gig as you're also full time at the Grissom Air Force Base, serving us with the firefighting and that, and our company's blessed by, like I said, is geeking out of that. So I hope you enjoy reading the newsletter. If you're not getting the newsletter and you'd like to, comment below or message us, and we'd love to get it to you. Tell us, Jason, about maybe what would be kind of a vision for you as far as we as a company try to help raise up other kids. You're a 3rd generation painter, and you have a couple children that are actually at kind of helping us. And whether or not your or my kids are involved in the business, it's to be known. But there are other kids that might not be part of our company, might not be part of our families. What do they need to do? They can maybe come and do an apprenticeship, but what are some things that you would encourage a young kid to think about?
So one of the biggest things I would encourage a young person going anywhere is to just take some pride in the things you're doing. Just like really be, take your time, do it right, and be proud of what you're doing. Have something that you can show and say, man, this looks really good. I'm proud of this. And as you develop that sense of ownership and pride in your work, it goes so much further for you for your whole life, no matter what you do. Whether you paint with us or whether you become an accountant and work with Zach Connor across the street, whatever you do, it's that sense of ownership and pride is what's going to help you.
And I think that's as you say that, it makes me think about some of our teams, the guys that work for us, the ladies that work for us. They just really have ownership in their craft. Some of them are better skilled with drywall than others, but they have ownership in that, and that's awesome. So I would say definitely, if I could add to it, the pride in what they do. We were just talking a little bit about organizational skills. Being focused. Another thing I would encourage a young person, I do all the time, and I talk to my kids about it, is, when you're talking to people, we live in a world today where we're right here, and these little tools help us. But get your head out of there, look at somebody in the eye, talk to them, look them straight in the eye. Those things are important. Those are the things that we're finding that our clients want every day. So for a young person to get in and do that, I think that's important.
All right, well, I'm going to show you the back of this one more time, because this green on here, that's Malsberg green, and that's Mrs. Malsberg. That's the color we painted her house.
That's awesome.
Right there is that green color. So,
That's so cool. Well, thanks for sharing your story with us, and Jason would love to share more of it. But check out our blogs on our website, and check out our newsletter. Jason, the newsletter blog from April will be on our website, and you'll also be getting a mailing. If you haven't gotten that, we'd love to get it to you. So let us know how we can get that to you, what your address is or whatever. So anyhow, thanks for watching, and Jason, thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon.